Hello, everyone. I'm Lenny Pinna, and I'm the editor of this book, A Face from Uranus, Correspondence between Tedd Burr and Henry Bellamann, 1943 to 1945. I'm also the screenwriter for the limited TV series In the Name of Jamie Wakefield, Too Pretty for a Boy. I've been reading Episode 3, Part 1 of Arts and Science. I am now moving on to Part 2. For those who are joining for the first time, know that there is a series pilot and Episode 2 before this particular episode. So we last left Ted when he mailed off his new photograph to Henry. He's leaving the post office. He's looking at the town of Bellevue, and he sees all the folks walking around, and he imagines everybody freezing. And he walks through the town just gleaming and beaming at everyone, and the lights had faded to black. Now we cut to the doctor's office in New York City, day. The doctor listens through his stethoscope as he checks Henry's back. Breathe again. More deeply. The doctor removes the stethoscope from his ears and hangs them about his neck. He moves to face Henry. Your breathing seems shallow. I'm concerned you're not getting enough air in your lungs. Have you been experiencing any difficulty breathing? Occasionally when I'm going up steps, but I mostly take the elevators. How about when walking? I do tire more quickly, so I stop to sit on benches. And are you swimming? Occasionally. How's your breathing then? It seems fine. That's good. You should swim more. How about my heart? No real change. But shallow breathing could put more strain on your heart. I'm recommending that you use an oxygen tank at home. Is that really necessary? It would be cumbersome to have to move around with that. I think it's more beneficial for you to increase lung capacity while you're sitting or writing or whatever you do when you're at home. We'll assume for now that you're taking in sufficient oxygen when you're walking out of doors, so you won't need it outside. I'm suddenly feeling much older. Don't dwell on the age. No age is a problem when you are in good health. Focus on your health and keep swimming. Cut to the exterior of Terminal Tower, Cleveland, day. Ted exits Terminal Tower among the hustle and bustle of downtown Cleveland, with sidewalks filled with pedestrians and streets filled with moving cars. We cut to the interior of Lyle and Haley Music Store, Cleveland. Ted peruses piano concertos. He chooses Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1. Cut to the exterior of a coffee shop. Ted looks through the window and sees a full crowd of men having lunch. Ted is wearing makeup, and his hair is styled in a full bouffant pompadour. He checks his appearance in the glare of the glass and musters up the confidence to walk into this coffee shop. Cut to the interior of the coffee shop. Many of the men turn their heads to look at Ted as he searches for a seat. He sees one seat at the crowded counter. After sitting, the waitress brings him a menu. Hi, hon. Here's our menu. Can I get you some coffee or something to drink? May I have some water, please? Sure thing, hon. Ted studies the menu. Men at the counter can be seen staring at him. The waitress returns with the water. Here you are. Ready, hon? Yes, may I have? The waitress leans in very close to Ted's face to get a good look at him. Have the baked chicken platter with mashed potatoes and corn, please. Any gravy on the chicken or the mashed potatoes? On the mashed potatoes, please. Anything else to drink? I'd like a hot tea with milk, please. You got it, sweetie. Ted watches the waitress walk away. She stops to whisper to a man. They both glance over at Ted. Ted quickly looks down and takes out the Tchaikovsky Concerto score to study. Cut to the interior of the Ansonia Hotel lobby during the day. Henry enters the lobby en route to the elevator. As the elevator door opens, A bearded man, dressed in Wagnerian opera-style clothing, he's rumored to be the illegitimate son of the composer Richard Wagner, haughtily struts past Henry and through the lobby. Henry's incredulous expression is received by the uniformed elevator operator, William. "Good afternoon, Mr. Bellamann." "Good afternoon, William. I see we are graced again today by the great bastard of Mr. Wagner." William cordially smiles. Interior of the elevator. "How's your day, sir?" "I wish I could say fine, but I'd be lying." "I'm sorry to hear that. I'll say a prayer for you, Mr. Bellamann." "Thank you, William. I appreciate that." Jump cut to the interior of the hallway, Ansonia Hotel. The elevator doors open. Sound of a man's voice vocalizing is heard down the hallway. William. "You take care of yourself now, Mr. Bellamann. And please tell Jocelyn I said hello." "I will do that." Henry hears Lauritz Melchior vocalizing operatic scales. Henry's facial expression immediately turns to stone. Cut to the interior of the Bellamann apartment, the foyer. Henry enters the apartment, locking the door behind him. Jocelyn approaches Henry to help him remove his overcoat. "Mr. Henry, how did it go with the doctor?" "Not so good. He said my breathing is shallow. He wants me to use an oxygen tank." "Oh, that's not so bad. I know folks who bring their oxygen tank to church service. It don't stop them from singing and praising and clapping their hands, and even doing a little spirit dancing now and then. They're still living life." That's encouraging. Jocelyn hangs his coat in the closet. "You know, you don't have to let anything keep you down. No, sir. That oxygen tank just gives you some extra air so you can continue to breathe the breath of life. As long as you have the breath of life, you have the spirit of life in you." Thanks for trying to cheer me up. "And you got a package over there." Henry retrieves some mail and a package on the table. He sees Bellevue, Ohio on the package. He smiles. Henry. "Oh, before I forget, William wanted me to say hello to you." "He did?" "Yes, he did." "Oh, I left the potatoes boiling on the stove." Jocelyn hurries off to the kitchen. Henry walks down the hallway toward his study. Cut to the interior of the Cleveland Public Library. Already holding a couple of books, Ted takes a large volume from the reference shelf. He moves to a side table, setting down the books. He opens the Who's Who from 1942. He flips to the B's to find Henry Bellamann's biography and picture of Henry in his 40s. Ted stares at Henry's picture. Cut to the interior of Henry's study. Henry sits at his desk. He cuts the envelope with the letter opener and takes out Ted's new portrait. He studies the photograph, then looks up as Ted appears in the room, rendered in black and white. He stands in profile, the same profile as the photograph. "Thank you for the photograph. It is very fine looking." Ted turns to look over his shoulder at Henry. "It is, as you would agree, very beautiful." Henry glances at Ted's high school photograph already placed on his bookshelf. "Even so, I like the high school one better. The boy with the glasses is a troubled, lost soul sort of person." Ted looks forward to stare at his senior photograph. Henry peers again at the new photograph. "Here is a face that might have come from the planet Uranus. So foreign." Ted looks back at Henry. Henry looks up at Ted. "And in the final analysis, so unappealing." Ted is disappointed and hurt, yet remains stoic. Henry rises and moves to the bookshelf. "No, I like the boy with the glasses, who looks out fearfully to a world that may be very hard on him if he isn't careful. Henry places the studio portrait on the shelf near the other photograph. The sad thing about this beautiful photograph is whom and how it attracts. The real men of this world who you like are attracted by the truly feminine. Henry turns around to fix his gaze on Ted. I don't know how frank you have been with me. It would appear at the moment that you are not a practicing homosexual. What's a homosexual? I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Homosexuality, as an amateur in these matters, is a departure from the norm, where a man loves other men. Love for you, however, is still a mental state, not an actual experience. Like the love I have for James Rogers, the high school boy I told you about? Precisely. It only exists in your mind. I did fall into the clutches of a neighbor boy who made me do certain things with him. Is that homosexuality? I wonder if a reading of Sigmund Freud's Study in Homosexuality would clear matters up for you. I'm very interested to learn about Freud and this homosexuality you speak of. I'll send you a copy. Ted fades out as Henry walks back to his desk and sits. Crossfade to the interior of Ted's bedroom during the day. Ted looks in the bureau mirror as he puts on facial makeup. Henry, who is now rendered in black and white, sits on a side chair watching Ted. I can very clearly see why you use makeup, although I'm sure most people would agree that you are much better looking without it. Ted doesn't look at Henry, but he hears his words. I've seen various boys wear makeup, but I've never felt it really improved them. It only leads to misunderstanding. I suppose that certain kinds of men would naturally think that you were available. They must feel cheated when you won't play. Ted stops his activity and turns, looking directly at Henry. Henry, suppose a girl dresses as an obvious prostitute and goes down to the New York waterfront. Do you think she should be offended or hurt when she is taken to be that which she is not? Ted is visibly affected by Henry's words. Wouldn't it make common sense to make some outward concessions to convention? You probably hate the word convention, but conventions are the protection of all individuals. Ted looks away from Henry and back to the mirror. I can't imagine that wearing makeup is really one of your deep down necessities. As Henry fades out, Ted begins to wipe off the makeup. Cut to the interior of Henry's study at night. He is sitting in his chair reading Ted's manuscript. We dissolve to an imagined reality, a scene from the novel. It's the interior of Sidney French's boudoir at night. Sidney, as played by Ted looking like his portrait, and Michael are lying in bed naked right after having sex. Would you consider us now a couple? No. Why not? We're from two different worlds. A relationship would be impossible. I may come from the other side of the bridge, but I'm a decent man. You're a salesman. What's decent in that? I'm an honest salesman. I never lie to anyone. That's noble of you. But I need someone of my caliber, a celebrated talent like me. Together, we will travel the world and make exquisite music and an extraordinary fortune, and will engage in exotic and ecstatic and eternal lovemaking. We already engage in exotic and ecstatic lovemaking. We could make it eternal if you'd like. I'm not going to settle for less than everything that I desire or dream of. So tell me, Sidney, If your life is so grand and worldly, why did you lower yourself by coming back here to live? I didn't come back here to live. I came back here to rest. I was exhausted from giving myself endlessly to my adoring fans who need me and my music and my beauty and my elegance, to inspire them to live beyond the constraints of their conforming little lives. So why are you still here? Why have you lingered for so long? Because I suffer tragically from the family curse. What kind of curse? I can't control my impulses to acquire everything I see or desire. I can no longer afford my excesses. Michael begins to chuckle, then laugh. Why are you laughing? What possibly could be so funny about my misfortune? You're in luck. Luck? How so? I can't be bought. I'm not for sale. I come free of charge, so you can afford to have as much of me as your tragically cursed little heart desires. Michael's eyes sparkle. Sydney's lip curls. They slowly embrace and kiss passionately. Michael rolls Sydney to his side, facing away, and slides closer to penetrate Sydney. Sydney arches his back and his neck in ecstasy. This is the end of the imagined reality. We dissolve back to the interior of Henry's study. Sitting on his high-backed chair, Henry appears disturbed. He tosses the script onto the side table. He's caught in an internal struggle. He closes his eyes, then reaches down to open his pants and begin stroking himself. We dissolve to the interior of the Bellamann home hallway. Henry walks down the dimly lit hallway to his bedroom. Cut to the interior of Henry's bedroom. Now dressed in pajamas, Henry gets into bed. He turns off the night lamp and closes his eyes. There's a flashback to the exterior of a park, Spartansburg, South Carolina, during the day. 30-year-olds, Henry and Albert, sit on a park bench. Albert: I've lived in Paris, traveled to Berlin, Vienna, and Amsterdam. I loved each of them, but I experienced them alone. I want to experience life with someone. What if I could get you a teaching position at Chicora College? You could live with me and Kitty to get started. I've never taught. What would I teach? Fortunately, I was just made head of the music department for this upcoming semester. You could teach some of my piano classes and a class in musical appreciation. That's very thoughtful, but I'm not an accomplished pianist like you are. You know how to play the piano, and you know how to read music. You just need to teach what you know. And I'll be able to help you. With a gifted student, I can advise or assist you. I don't need to work immediately. I can still settle here in the area. That's right. You don't have to concern yourself with making a living. You have unlimited family funds you can rely on. Why, after all these years, are you still throwing my family's wealth in my face? Have I ever stopped caring about you? Because you came from less means? No. Have I ever acted superior? No. Have I tried to buy your affection with gifts? No. No. I've written you poems, and I've given you my heart. I'm sorry, I resorted to saying such things. I could move anywhere. Why do you think I'm moving to South Carolina? To be near you. And I want you as near as possible. If you teach at the college and live with me and Kitty, we would be even closer. But Henry, me teaching piano? I'm much more suited to teaching English or poetry or literature. I know, but I'm head of the music department, not the English department. Do you really think it'd be copacetic for me to live with you and Catherine? Copacetic, what does that mean? It means completely agreeable. I've never heard of the word. It's a relatively new word. Bojangles Robinson says it all the time. Ah, well, that explains it. I like it. I think it's a good word. So, will it be copacetic? Yes, I think it will be copacetic. We could at least give it a try and see how it goes. Albert quietly thinks. Are you intending to be in my life for a long time? I think you know the answer. I've written several poems about it. Then for my sake, our sake, please consider my offer. So when do I get to meet Mrs. Bellamann? Henry smiles broadly. Albert begins to smile. Jump cut to the interior of the Bellamann's campus home, South Carolina, day. Henry and Albert stand in the foyer with Catherine. Henry, Kitty, I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend, Bertie. Bertie, this is my wife, Kitty. Lovely to meet you. Welcome to our humble little abode. Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you. Henry has told me so little about you. I look forward to learning more. I've spent much of my time in Europe the last 5 years, so I've been out of circulation. I'm grateful to you and Henry for helping me to reestablish myself here in the States. We're delighted to help. Henry, I'll show Albert where he'll be staying. Catherine, dinner will be ready shortly. Cut to the interior of the Bellamann guest bedroom. Henry, we haven't used this room very much. Who did the decorating? Neither of us. We are kept so busy with our work. We've made no effort to change the furnishings that the college provided. I might like to change a few things in here. You can fix it up however you like. I'm sure Catherine won't mind at all. Henry opens the closet door. Unfortunately, this closet isn't very large. I hope it'll be enough for your things. Albert looks inside the closet. Henry moves behind him. As Albert turns back, Henry moves closer to embrace him. Albert is receptive. They kiss. I hope you'll feel quite comfortable living here. I'm sure I'll get accustomed to it. End flashback. End of part 2 of episode 3 called Arts and Science. And thank you for joining me. If you have any comments or questions or any discussion points about what you're perceiving between the series, episodes 1, 2, and 3, feel free to write comments below and we'll have a discussion. Until the next time, take care. Thanks for joining me.